In the early hours of the morning, an alarm began to sound. It was not loud enough to wake a city, but it was loud enough to change the fate of the world. There was no explosion, no visible threat, and no enemy in sight. Only a screen, a signal, and a protocol waiting to be followed. Modern systems are designed to act faster than humans can think. They assume speed is safety, and hesitation is failure. But speed removes something essential. It leaves no room for doubt, reflection, or second guesses. In these moments, a single person often becomes the final checkpoint. Not because they want to be, but because someone has to decide. They are trained to follow instructions, not to question them. Yet questioning is sometimes the most dangerous act of all. If they act too slowly, disaster may follow. If they act too quickly, the same disaster could be self-inflicted. In public memory, history is shaped by leaders and speeches. But many turning points happen in silence, far from cameras. These decisions rarely come with recognition or reward. Often, they come with doubt that lasts a lifetime. Sometimes, the right choice looks like hesitation. And sometimes, hesitation is the only thing standing between order and catastrophe. This story is not about heroes. It is about people placed inside systems that demanded certainty when none existed. The moments you are about to hear were never meant to be remembered. Most were classified, buried, or quietly forgotten. They did not end with explosions or headlines. They ended quietly, because someone chose restraint over reaction. Only years later did the world learn how close it came to irreversible outcomes. By then, the moment had already passed. The first of these moments took place far from any capital city. It happened deep underwater, during the most dangerous standoff of the Cold War. In October 1962, the world held its breath. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a confrontation over nuclear missiles in Cuba. Both sides believed they were acting defensively. Neither side fully understood how close the situation was to spiraling out of control. Far from the negotiating tables, Soviet submarines were sent into the Atlantic. Their mission was to remain hidden and prepared for the worst. One of these vessels was submarine B-59. Inside, conditions were extreme, and communication with Moscow was unreliable. The submarine carried something few people knew about. On board was a nuclear torpedo, capable of triggering a devastating response. As American ships dropped signaling charges nearby, the crew believed war might have already begun. From inside the submarine, the explosions felt real. Heat rose, oxygen dropped, and tempers flared. The crew had been submerged for days with no clear information from above. Standard procedure allowed the torpedo to be launched if the captain believed the submarine was under attack. In that moment, the rules seemed clear. But launching the torpedo required agreement from 3 officers. 2 of them believed the attack had already begun. The 3rd officer was Vasili Arkhipov. He was not the captain, but his approval was required for the launch. Arkhipov did not see proof of a full-scale war. He questioned whether the explosions meant an attack or a signal. Arguing inside a sealed submarine was not calm or theoretical. It was loud, urgent, and filled with fear. In the end, Arkhipov refused to authorize the launch. He insisted the submarine surface and wait for orders. The submarine eventually surfaced. No torpedo was fired, and no retaliation followed. Had the torpedo been launched, escalation would have been almost immediate. What followed instead was silence. At the time, no one outside the crew knew how close the world had come to nuclear war. The incident remained hidden for decades. Arkhipov was not celebrated as a hero. He returned to duty, carrying the memory of a choice few would ever understand. The Cuban Missile Crisis is remembered for tense negotiations between leaders. But one of its most important moments happened far below the surface. A single disagreement inside a submarine prevented a sequence of irreversible events. It was not dramatic, but it was decisive. Years later, historians would recognize this as one of the closest calls in human history. At the time, it passed without notice. 21 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Cold War was still very much alive. Nuclear arsenals had grown larger, and warning systems had become more automated. In September 1983, the Soviet Union relied on a new satellite-based early warning system. Its purpose was simple: detect incoming missiles and report immediately. The system was designed to remove human doubt. If missiles were detected, commanders were expected to act quickly. That night, Stanislav Petrov was the officer on duty. His role was to monitor alerts and report them up the chain of command. Shortly after midnight, the alarm sounded. The system reported that a missile launch had been detected from the United States. Moments later, the system reported another missile. Then another. According to the screen, an attack was underway. Protocol required Petrov to report the warning as a confirmed attack. That report would have triggered a rapid response. But something did not feel right. A real attack, Petrov thought, would involve far more missiles. There was no radar confirmation from ground stations. The warning came only from the satellite system. Petrov faced an impossible choice. Trust the machine, or trust his own judgment. He chose to wait. Instead of reporting an attack, he reported a system malfunction. For several long minutes, nothing happened. The reported missiles never appeared on radar. The alert was later traced to sunlight reflecting off clouds. The system had mistaken it for missile launches. Petrov had violated protocol, but he had avoided catastrophe. His action was quietly noted, not celebrated. For years, the incident remained classified. The world continued, unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Petrov did not see himself as a savior. He described his choice as common sense under pressure. Like Arkhipov before him, his decision took place far from public view. There were no speeches, only consequences avoided. These moments reveal a pattern. Systems demand certainty, but reality rarely provides it. When humans are removed too quickly from decisions, mistakes can move faster than understanding. The Cold War produced many weapons, but it also produced moments where restraint mattered more than power. Arkhipov and Petrov were not unique. Around the world, similar decisions have been made quietly by people whose names never reached history books. Many of these moments unfolded far from politics or military command. They happened inside control rooms, towers, and technical offices. In air traffic control towers, operators routinely manage hundreds of lives at once. A single misjudgment can cascade into disaster. Several mid-air collisions were avoided because a controller questioned automated instructions. The correction happened in seconds, without attention. In power plants, engineers monitor systems designed to never fail. When anomalies appear, procedure alone is not always enough. In more than one case, technicians shut down reactors or grids against protocol. The decision was risky, but doing nothing felt worse. These choices often violated standard procedures. They were made under pressure, with incomplete information. In financial systems, traders and engineers have halted automated processes when markets behaved irrationally. The intervention rarely makes headlines. In hospitals, clinicians sometimes delay procedures when systems indicate urgency. Experience tells them something is not right. Across industries, the pattern repeats. Systems push forward, while humans hesitate. These people are rarely praised for what they prevent. Success, in these cases, looks like nothing happening at all. There are no monuments for disasters that never occurred. The absence of tragedy leaves no physical trace. When systems work as intended, we rarely ask how close they came to failure. Prevention remains invisible by design. Because of this, we often overestimate the reliability of automation. We forget the human judgment quietly supporting it. The stories that reach us tend to focus on failure. The stories that end quietly are harder to tell. Yet these quiet interventions shape outcomes just as powerfully. They determine whether systems fail or hold. Most of these people never expected recognition. Their goal was simply to prevent harm. In hindsight, their choices appear obvious. In the moment, the outcome was anything but certain. These decisions form an unseen layer of protection. Without them, many systems would collapse under their own complexity. Together, these moments suggest a deeper truth. Modern safety depends as much on human restraint as it does on technology. These near disasters were not caused by a lack of rules. They happened because modern systems are designed to operate at extreme speed. In high-risk environments, delays are treated as failures. Systems reward immediate action, even when information is incomplete. Automation was introduced to reduce human error. Over time, it also reduced opportunities for human judgment. When automated systems signal danger, people are trained to trust the signal. Questioning it can feel irresponsible. Protocols are written for clarity, not for ambiguity. Real-world situations rarely match the scenarios imagined on paper. As systems grow more complex, no single person fully understands how they behave under stress. Unexpected interactions become inevitable. In these environments, humans are expected to intervene only at the last moment. By then, the margin for error is minimal. The people placed in this position carry responsibility without authority. They must decide, but they rarely design the systems themselves. When near disasters are avoided, there is little incentive to change the system. Success leaves no visible trace. Over time, this creates a dangerous illusion. The absence of disaster is mistaken for proof of safety. Each avoided catastrophe quietly reinforces the same structure. The system remains unchanged, waiting for the next test. This is why similar moments continue to appear across decades and industries. The underlying logic has not changed. As technology advances, the speed increases, but the responsibility still falls on individuals. The tension remains unresolved. Understanding these patterns does not eliminate risk. It only reveals how fragile modern safety truly is. What saved the world in these cases was not perfection. It was human hesitation in a system that demanded certainty. The Cold War may be over, but the systems it created still exist. Many remain active, automated, and capable of acting within minutes. Nuclear weapons are still deployed across the world. Early warning systems continue to monitor the sky, just as they did decades ago. Technology has advanced, but uncertainty remains. Sensors are more precise, yet no system can fully eliminate ambiguity. Modern systems are faster and more interconnected. That speed reduces reaction time for humans, not the consequences of mistakes. The people responsible for oversight still face the same dilemma. Act too quickly, or hesitate and risk being wrong. What history shows is not that systems will fail, but that failure is always possible. Safety depends on how that possibility is handled. The near misses of the past offer a warning. They remind us that restraint is not weakness, but a form of responsibility. These stories are not about the past alone. They shape how we think about technology, authority, and trust today. They also raise a quiet question. In the next critical moment, who will be asked to decide? If stories like this help you see history differently, share your thoughts below. And if you want more calm, thoughtful explanations, consider subscribing.